What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22 My Team Career Mode. This time we're going to be at the Belgian Grand Prix, and it's a race I'm very excited for because the past 2 seasons in a row we've done very well here, or at least we did do very well here right up until the point that our car broke down on both occasions. So yeah, we need to hopefully finish the race on this occasion, and if we can do that, I think we'll be in for a good result. Not only that, but we have at least 1 and possibly 2 upgrades which are going to be arriving on the car in the aero department, which should be enough for us to hopefully get to a position where we can start competing with the cars in front of us once again, rather than just competing with, you know, the Alfa Romeos and the Alfa Tauris and cars like that. I feel like recently we've been sort of slipping down the order. We had a French Grand Prix last time out that didn't go quite how I'd have wanted it to, and I think we finished about P9 or P8 in that one, maybe after a DNF up front. So yeah, it wasn't our most remarkable performance, but I definitely think that we're capable of doing a lot better, and hopefully we can showcase that in Belgium with a few aero upgrades coming on the car. Speaking of aero, we're in an Ask the Drivers event, and they're asking us what was the biggest regulation change that happened this season, to which I said aero, of course, and the team have done a fantastic job kind of accommodating that. And then they asked me who were my heroes growing up, and as a British driver, I feel like I have no choice but to say Lewis Hamilton. I think that was kind of true for a young Formula 1 watcher such as myself. I remember watching Lewis Hamilton for the very first time in 2007, and you know, being sort of amazed by how quickly he came in and started winning, and you know, he was really good. But my first Formula 1 driver who I consider myself to be a fan of, I even have a teddy bear which I still have to this day, which I named after Juan Pablo Montoya. And I would say he was probably the first driver who I really sort of looked up to. So yeah, not one of the options in that Ask the Drivers event, but yeah, Lewis Hamilton, definitely more true than Sebastian Vettel. I kind of stopped watching Formula 1 when I was a kid for a little while, around the sort of time of Sebastian Vettel's dominance, so I don't remember it super well. But I still think he's a fantastic driver, don't get me wrong. Here we are looking at the performance index, and you can see that there's a clear top 6 and then a clear bottom 4, and we are kind of perfectly sandwiched between those two with the aero upgrades that we just put on the car. So yeah, I don't really know where we'll be in terms of performance. We might be in a bit of a no man's land, just sort of on the fringes of the points, and that might be where we reside for the rest of the season. It doesn't matter too much, because our sponsor bonus, of course, was reaching 100 points this season, which we did quite comfortably. I think we achieved that by sort of the 5th or 6th race of the season, so that wasn't too big an issue. But yeah, P5 in the Constructors is looking ever less likely, as Alpine are now one of the front-running cars, and Fernando Alonso's got hella pace in him. And I mean, you can see here in this practice session, Alonso and Ocon were 2 of the top 3 drivers, second and third only to my current championship rival Sergio Perez. So yeah, they are going to be fiercely competitive, at least for the next few races, until maybe they start getting outdeveloped once again by the cars around them. But for now, we are kind of trying everything we can to sort of break through to the front, and yeah, we're kind of running out of upgrades that we can do. There's only 1 more aero upgrade we can put on the car for now, and then the rest of the upgrades we have available to us at the moment are durability upgrades and any engine supplier upgrades that might occur over the course of the season. But I think we've only got 1 or 2 coming in, so we really need to try and earn as much money as we can as quickly as possible to get us to a position where we can upgrade the chassis further. I might do a bit of an experiment, and I might upgrade one of the facilities in the chassis department to spec 3 level before I get everything to level 2, and see if that does anything. Maybe that will unlock spec 3 upgrades. I don't really know how it works. We do have the best aero package on the grid, and we're going to try and make it even better. Because we have the best aero package, I feel a bit more comfortable rushing this time. And also, if we can get another aero upgrade on the car before Italy, we have a very good chance to be absolutely rapid around that circuit with the aero upgrades. So yeah, I think it's worth rushing. Worst case scenario, we're going to have all the upgrades on the car before Singapore, and then we can really start dialing in on the chassis upgrades. Here we are now in our first flying lap of Q1, and this was actually the only flying lap that we did in Q1, and it was good enough for a 1:43.1, which, as you'll see in a second at the end of the session, was good enough to put us P8. Enzo Fittipaldi gets through in P14, but yeah, hopefully we can find a tiny bit more pace than this, perhaps. See if we can sort of break into maybe the top 6 or so before the end of Q3. But first, obviously, we've got to get into Q3, so we'll be looking at Q2 to hopefully get us that far. If Enzo Fittipaldi can break through into Q3 as well, that would be fantastic. But yeah, it's still a tough circuit, and he's he's still developing as a driver. So we're more than happy to see him through to Q2, and anything he does from here on out is a bonus. We do our first flying lap on a set of used softs. It's a 1:43.8. It's not the best lap that we could have done for sure, but all that matters is what we set on the fresh softs. We're 6/10 up as we come through to the final sector now, and we'll see if we can make a market improvement to hopefully break through into Q3 and yeah, try and set a competitive time to compete with the cars around us. I actually think it's going to be a wet race, so we're going to struggle quite a lot. So this qualifying is going to be hugely important if we want to finish sort of in the points as we round the bus stop chicane. We're about 8/10 up as we come to the line. It's going to be a 1:43.0, and in the end, it is good enough to put us P11. Wow. Okay, I think that might be the first time all season we've been knocked out in Q2. Then I can't think of another time that's happened. We were so close. 1/10. A little more than 1/10 would have done it. But yeah, we are eliminated in Q3. Or Q2 rather. So no Q3 for us for the first time this season, I think, in 14 races. And yeah, that is just another worrying sign of our slide down the performance index as we've progressed through this season. We're going to need to try and recoup some of that performance in the race. Otherwise, we are going to really struggle to hold on to P5 in the Constructors' Championship. Obviously, that's where we're fighting for this season. I feel like Red Bull and Mercedes have kind of pulled away from us a little bit too much. But Alpine are definitely the team that I feel comfortable fighting with in the Constructors' Championship right now. And up until this race, I felt pretty confident fighting with them on track as well. So hopefully we can stay and keep our competitive edge in this championship. But it's going to be incredibly difficult, especially when Alpine are getting both cars through to Q3 as well. We are going to need to give everything we can to be able to score a good heap of points in this race. As we now find ourselves gearing up for the race proper. I think Fittipaldi ended up qualifying 15th. It's not a fantastic result from him. He's definitely done better. He's had a few P11s here and there. It is going to be a wet race pretty much the whole way through, so yeah, we're going to have to get mentally prepared for that one as well, and it's time for us to get into the race.
Welcome along then to the Belgian Grand Prix, the race that gave us the maiden victory for the Jordan team back in 1998. And in the same team, the phenomenal debut of a young Michael Schumacher. There's always something special just around one of the many corners of this fan-favourite circuit. Spa-Francorchamps is a 4.35-mile tour of the Ardennes countryside, with 9 rights and 10 lefts, giving us a grand total of 19 corners. Average lap speeds in the dry can reach about 145 miles per hour, but without a significant improvement in the conditions, we're not going to be seeing anything like that today. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Fernando Alonso lines up on pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Norris, Sainz, Sergio Perez, and Verstappen, Ocon, Ricciardo, Hamilton, and George Russell, Robinson, Lundgaard, Pierre Gasly, and Albon, Fittipaldi, Mick Schumacher, Guan Yu Zhou, and Yuki Tsunoda, Stroll, Magnussen, Latifi, and Robert Schwartzman, It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Not one of the easiest days to go racing. It's damp, it's slippery, there's dark clouds as far as the eye can see. The rain is here then, and that's going to take away a lot of the grip. Anthony Davidson, that's going to make turn 1 very interesting indeed.
Yeah, it's these kind of conditions where you can go in with one of two mindsets. You either see it as an opportunity, or you're worried that all of your hard work's about to be undone. We've been stuck in these conditions now for a few hours, more or less this kind of intensity, so we don't seem to have too much standing water, so we're not likely to be starting behind a safety car. And like you say, Crofty, the charge down into turn 1 would be quite interesting. I think we're in for a cracking Grand Prix.
Right then, nothing, no words of encouragement from Mark on this occasion, but yeah, it is pouring with rain. We're going to be starting on the wet compound tyres in this race. And yeah, I think hopefully the track should be drying up ever so slightly over the course of the Grand Prix, but it is going to be a real wrestle with the car to get it around these corners for the first few laps at least. And yeah, not starting in the points, I am going to have to try and be a little bit aggressive if I want to score points here as well. Alonso is on pole, so that is a fantastic result for Alpine and an awful result for us. We had a poor parking, to say the least there. I tried to be sort of cocky and try and slow down and then edge a bit further forward, and it just didn't work at all, and as a result we had our parking position reset. The lights are now going to come on, and the lights go out. And it's a pretty decent start from us, all things considered. Russell is not known for having particularly good starts in my experience here, and this is just another example of that. We're going to go up the inside of Hamilton, around the outside of Ricciardo. I think I said that the wrong way around, but either way, somehow we managed to squeeze through the middle of those two cars and find ourselves up in P8 off the first corner already. I'm not really sure how that happened, because I didn't think I had a particularly good start. But yeah, somehow I just managed to find the gap and squeeze myself into it. And yeah, now we're up into P8, but the bad news is that we are being hassled by Ricciardo significantly already, and the cars in front are already a second up the road. They are going to be pressuring each other, however, which is going to give us a bit of an opportunity to catch back up to them. Perhaps catch back up to them is what I was trying to say there. If we don't get pressured too hard by Ricciardo. I think we've managed to stay them off for now. And as we come down into this hairpin, we're actually going to try and go around the outside of not only Ocon, but also Verstappen. It doesn't quite work on Verstappen there, but we do manage to get past Ocon, which moves us up into P7. So that's a fantastic start for this Grand Prix, especially considering we were so low down in P11 at the beginning of the race. I really wasn't expecting to be this high up already. And yeah, we'll see if we can continue this charge forward. We seem to have a bit more pace than the other cars in the wet, especially around the corners. I think it's that aero upgrades we've been doing have really significantly enabled us to challenge these cars through you know, sort of high and medium speed corners. Low speed we're still sort of lacking in a little bit, but it's to be expected when we don't have any ultimate chassis upgrades on the car as of yet. Move on now to lap 3, and we're looking at Lewis Hamilton, who we overtook off the start of the Grand Prix. And yeah, as he rounds this chicane, you see that he just loses it a little bit, and yeah, spins, and is very fortunate not to hit a wall or have anything more drastic happen to him there. So he's able to continue on with the race, but that is someone who might be providing a bit of pressure towards us, now sort of neutralized, at least for the time being. And yeah, we'll see if he does fight back towards the end of the race, but I think it's unlikely. Now we're on lap 4, and I think Perez has had a bit of a moment there. Perhaps he went off track or something. I'm not quite sure what happened, but yeah, he now falls behind us as well, which moves us up into P6, as we are kind of still clinging onto the back of this train of Norris, Verstappen and Sainz here. And we'll see if we can perhaps move a bit further forward through this train, and if we can get to the front of it, in fact, we might even be able to get on the podium. Lap 6 now, and we're being offered a new strategy. It's going to be stopping on lap 10 instead of lap 11 as initially planned. I don't see much of a difference there, other than that perhaps we can make up a bit of position, maybe try and go for an undercut if we have a bit more sort of grip in the wets. And yeah, now that we are on lap 9, I'm starting to really fall away from the cars in front. I was pushing quite hard on these wet tyres, and they were really starting to fall off. Lap 9, I got the information that Inters and Wets have about roughly the same pace, so I figured to myself, well, that means that the rain is probably going to be drying up to the point that it's worth going onto intermediate compound tyres during my pit stop. I'm still going to stop on lap 10 as planned. I'm not going to come in and out another lap early. And yeah, we will see as we come in now on lap 10 whether we can perhaps pull off a bit of an undercut on the other cars around us who are still planning to come in on lap. I think 11 is the lap that most of them are coming in, maybe lap 12.
Pit crew are out in the lane and ready to perform their magic on the car. They're going to be aiming to achieve the fastest pit stop time possible.
So we're coming into the pits now, and it's going to be a change from wets to intermediates. Hopefully we can get a pretty good stop, and yeah, hopefully we won't be released into any kind of traffic either, so we can just instantly begin making our way, sort of closing down the gap between us and the cars in front. We are coming out sort of around some traffic. We got Joe and Albon close to us. I think Joe is actually going to just about grab this position, but we should be able to get it back with relative ease, especially considering he is on the wet compound tyres and they're used tyres. You would think this would be a formality, hopefully. We're closing him down with the battery already, and I think we're going to have a look to the inside maybe. No, we're going to switch to the outside as we come to the end of the Kemmel Straight, and as we move through the chicane we are comfortably ahead of him. No problems there, thank you very much, Zhou Guanyu, and we are now up into P12, but there are still a number of cars left to pit, so we are going to see what happens with those guys. There's a few cars coming in now, including Gasly, Ricciardo and Verstappen. This is going to be the interesting one, because Verstappen was just ahead of us as we came into the pits, and as we come out of the pits you can see that we have closed the gap to him by a couple of seconds, but the gap very much is still there, and probably I won't be making that up now. Lap 12 we are trying to get ahead of Christian Lundgaard, who is yet to pit, and you know, I'm sort of looking for a way through him, and eventually I find one, but I probably didn't do myself any favors taking as long as I did to get that position. And now as we move on to onto lap 13, you see that we got Russell in the pits, we got Ocon, we got Perez, we got Norris, and we got Sainz. So we'll see if we can contend with any of the cars that are pitting on this lap. And yeah, as you see, we at the end of it all we managed to shake out into P6 as we were before the pit stop phase. So yeah, that was you know, not really anything different. They all came out on inters, so it wasn't too big a deal in the end. We got a radio message there that we have an issue with our gearbox. It's to be expected. It's got about 70% wear on it at this point, but as you'll find out, we're not the only ones with an issue in this race. Also, Carlos Sainz has some kind of issue. I don't know if it's engine related, but they said he's slowing down. So we'll see if perhaps we can start closing the gap to the cars in front. If we can get into the top 5, that would be fantastic, because it means that we're going to get another sponsor bonus in this race. And right now we're only on for 1, because we didn't qualify in the top 10, which is one of our 3 sponsor bonuses that we aim for. The other one, of course, is outperforming a rival, which we're currently doing with Sergio Perez's 2.5 down on us. And yeah, we'll see if we can start closing this gap to the cars in front. At the moment it's about 3 seconds, so we'll keep an eye on it and see what happens as Verstappen makes his way through on Sainz, and we've already closed the gap to 2 seconds. So this is evidence that Sainz is definitely having some issues in this race, which hopefully we can capitalize on quite quickly. And yeah, in a very short space of time, only like a lap or so, we've managed to cut the gap down from 3 seconds to 1 second. And we're already hassling up to the back of Carlos Sainz. So we'll see if we can come through this hairpin and maybe get ahead of him before the end of the lap, maybe into the bus stop chicane or something like that. George Russell is out of the session with only a few laps to go. He refuses to be in a position where he might outdo his teammate, so he's willingly sacrificed his car so Hamilton could still finish ahead of him in the Grand Prix. And we'll see exactly what happened with him now. You see that as he's coming through this hairpin, he just suddenly slows down quite significantly and yeah, moves off the track. I didn't see any smoke. Actually, there might be smoke coming out the back. I thought that was spray, but I think it actually was smoke, so it seems like it's probably an engine failure for him. And that doesn't make any difference to my race because I was already ahead of him. But yeah, it promotes some of the cars that were behind him 1 position up the order. And now we're going to be closing up on Carlos Sainz as we come around to the end of this Grand Prix. Actually, we're on lap 20 now, so things have gone pretty thick and fast in this race. As we try our signature move around the outside, we don't really have enough grip for that on this occasion. and we're going to now try and hassle him to the inside of this fast left-hander, and we do exactly that as we close him down and get past him over the course of just a few laps. Unfortunately, Perez has also made his way through him, and you can see that the gap between myself and Perez as I was trying to get past Carlos Sainz has closed drastically, which means that we are probably going to be under some kind of pressure from Perez for the remainder of this Grand Prix, if I had to guess. I don't think we're going to be able to drop him now, and there's no cars in front that we can perhaps leech some kind of slipstream or something like that off of. So it's going to be all holding him off for the rest of the Grand Prix now, especially through these fast straights, because yeah, we don't quite have the straight line speed to contend with these guys yet, even when we are burning as much battery as we can to stave them off. You see, he is going to be pressuring me into the chicane a little bit, but not too much to sweat as we now move round to the final lap. And if we can stave him off for one more lap, we will be getting 2 sponsor bonuses that we wouldn't be getting otherwise if we don't stave him off. So this is a really important position for us to hold. This position on track is worth $600,000, if you can believe it. So I am going to do everything I can to fight with all of the width of my car to keep Sergio Perez behind here. He is burning his battery very much to try and get ahead of me here, but we're going to try and dive back up the inside. I think we actually made a little bit of contact there, and now I'm going to try and go around the outside as we exit the chicane, and as we come around this fast right-hander, we have got ahead of him once again, and that is probably one of the last positions that he can comfortably overtake me. Obviously, as we come on the run down to the bus stop chicane, it's basically flat out after the fast right-hander as you enter the sort of, there is a kink in it, but it's all flat out. So that's probably going to be another position where, with his superior straight line speed, he can potentially try and overtake. But I think hopefully we should be able to fend him off for the remainder of the Grand Prix if we can get a good exit from Stavolo, I believe is the name of the corner which precedes this flat out section. This corner we're now running through here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously we've had a few blunders with corner names recently. So yeah, I definitely want to make sure that I'm getting these right, especially at one of my favourite tracks, Spa-Francorchamps. Perez is about 2-3 tenths behind. It doesn't look like he's closing me down significantly. Is he going to challenge me into the bus stop chicane here? He is not. So I think we've managed to hold on here, unless he gains some significant straight line advantage as we come to the run to the line. It's not going to be good enough for him, but it is going to be good enough for us, and we close P5 in this race. That is a fantastic result for us after starting P11. When I was knocked out in Q2, I was thinking this is going to be one of the first races this season where we don't score points off the back of, just finishing outside the points. But we do manage to close it out in P5, and that was a great recovery drive. And we get driver of the day as well for our troubles as well, so I can't be too mad about that.
Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, they clearly have a car that comes alive in the kind of conditions we were dealing with today. It's a very balanced package in the wet, and what that means is that the drivers have confidence to attack. And having that confidence gets you on the power earlier, it lets you brake later, and can put you a long way up the road.
Here come today's winning drivers, and what a race this was. This is a team that knows success very well in F1, and they're just itching for even more. Congratulations to the Alpine team for their excellent win today.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is Fernando Alonso's first win in 11 years. The last time he won, he would have been 32, and he's now 43 in the 2024 season of My Team Career Mode. So yeah, fantastic result for him, and he is accompanied by Leclerc and Verstappen, the Formula 1 new blood, not superior to the old blood on this occasion.
Let's have a quick look at how the driver standings have changed. Despite the best efforts of our championship leader, that lead has taken a bit of a knock today. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Robinson. They did a great job at getting the most out of their tyres without losing pace, something that's a very handy skill to have in modern day Formula 1.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
So yeah, there we go. We are still in P5 in the Constructors' Championship, but the gap to Alpine is closed to 50-something points now. And with Alonso winning races and Ocon putting in solid performances, I really can't see a world in which I am going to be able to compete with these guys for the remainder of the season. But you know, at least it will make for an interesting storyline for these last 8 races or so. We'll see if they can close me up in time. We've got some of my stronger circuits coming up soon. Zandvoort, where I obviously got my first win in Formula One last season, and not so much Italy, but maybe with some aero upgrades we can at least be somewhat competitive there. Some sort of drag reduction and whatnot. We've got Singapore, which I actually think will go quite well for us if I don't spin on the first lap like I did in last year's race. Obviously that one is kind of chassis dependent, but it's also more than anything difficulty dependent, and we're not running a particularly high difficulty right now because I keep losing these rivalries. So oh, I see. Perez spun there. It just showed it, but yeah, Perez had a spin, which is why he got caught by me as we make this overtake there. I assumed it was him just sort of having a bit of a wobble or something like that, but it was a full-blown spin. After Singapore, we're going to have Japan, which actually went very well for us last season, but we did have a bit of good fortune there. It is a track which favors aero quite a lot. There's a lot of high-speed corners, so I think we might be in a good position there. You've got the USA, which is a very sort of balanced circuit, so I don't know if we'll do particularly well there. You got, what else is there? Mexico, could go either way, usually goes quite well for us. Portugal, I just want to finish a race there. We didn't have that luxury last season. And then, yeah, closing out the season with Brazil, which I think will go well for us because it very typically does. Last season we got a win there, and I think we will be able to you know, sort of be in a competitive spot this season as well. But there is a lot of races to get through up until that point, so there's no point speculating on it too hard right now until we get to such position where we know for certain what the performance of our car is going to be like and whatnot. But those are the races that we've got to look forward to. I think there's definitely going to be some crackers in here. This race was pretty good, all things considered, and yeah, I just hope that we have a few more races like this before the end of the season, where perhaps if we're not qualifying quite where we'd want to be, at least we can be competing with the cars when it comes to the race. I much prefer those to the opposite scenario, where I have a fantastic qualifying and then I just slowly fall down the order in the race, which is pretty much what happened in France. Even though we finished in the same position we started, there were a few cars that DNF'd, which enabled us to move up the order somewhat. But yeah, that was the story of this race. I'm not quite sure where Fittipaldi finished. Still wasn't in the points, so I'm not too concerned on it. But yeah, hopefully he will start banging in some points finishes once we improve the car a little bit further. But that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.